he fell asleep on the phone with Claressa, right? And
that's that good boo loving.
Yeah, like he fell asleep, but she was still talking, right? And so when she heard Remy's voice, she hung up. And so the phone was still open, so she just must have started going through text messages, and this is what she found.
$1 deal. I'm not bragging, but well, basically, Clarissa found herself, man, in a position where she was in a bidding war because her contract ended.
Okay.
With the previous entity that she was signed to.
Okay.
So I want to say this to you and make it clear. Every boxing entity made offers to her.
Wow.
From the biggest to the smallest. I literally sat in these meetings with her. And my team, I see what we've been doing. We put a lot of asses in seats with these concerts. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at it. I'm like, damn.
Oh, so that was yeah.
I'm like, yo.
Game in boxing, people don't.
Yo, bro. I'm brainstorming. But anyway, I'm looking at how we able to put asses in seats, and I'm looking at what she doing as a fighter. I'm like, yo, if we come together, it'd be crazy. So her last fight, which was in Detroit, we came together and we sold that motherfucker out, bro.
Don't worry about people talking about, oh, the look, the endorsements, the sponsorships. I kept it very simple. I said, as long as I win, they're going to keep talking. I beat this girl. I beat that girl. I get this title. You know, I tell this girl I'm going to knock her out, and then we fight, and I knock her out. Chirp. So I just told myself, just win.
Now, when are you knocking Remy Ma out? Y'all know I had to bring that up, okay? Because the girls was tussling over the internet. I didn't know if she was gonna get knocked out. I was scared.
The internet is not a real place to be. Like, what?
Oh my God.
What's going on? I'm like, I want to promote the movie. What is this?
You said earlier there's some things Pap need to handle.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's the elephant in the room. I don't have to say it.
Oh,
yeah, it's the elephant in the room. Like, but that takes time, and like I said, that's not my place to speak on. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'll get handled. I just know that from my perspective, I'm with him every day, and when I'm not with him, we're on the phone every day, and we're talking, and we're FaceTiming, and you know, we love each other. So that's just kind of what it is.
So the all is already given, is what she's saying.
The video doesn't start with yelling. It doesn't start with accusations. It starts with silence. Clarissa Shields sits still, shoulders tight, eyes glossy but focused, like someone holding themselves together with pure discipline. There's a pause before she speaks, a long one. The kind that tells you this isn't planned. This isn't content. This is something that finally hurt too much to carry alone. Her breathing is controlled, but her voice cracks just enough to give it away. Not weakness, emotion, real emotion. She doesn't rush. She doesn't jump straight into names. She talks about loyalty first, about trust, about believing people who smiled in her face and called her family, the kind of people you don't expect to hurt you because they were never supposed to be strangers. That's when the tone shifts, because now the pain isn't abstract, it's personal. As the clip spreads online, people lean closer. Fans notice her hands shaking slightly when she wipes her face. They notice how she swallows between sentences, like she's forcing something heavy back down. This isn't rage. This isn't drama. This is disappointment, the kind that cuts deeper than betrayal itself. And suddenly, celebrity drama doesn't feel entertaining anymore. It feels uncomfortable. Then she says it. Not loud, not angry, just clear. She trusted them. Names that once stood for unity, respect, and strength now hang in the air unfinished. Clarissa doesn't scream accusations. She doesn't need to. The hurt in her voice does the work for her. She explains how she felt included until she wasn't, how promises were made, then quietly ignored, how loyalty was expected from her, but never returned the same way. The internet reacts instantly. Clips spread with captions full of disbelief. Fans replay the moment her voice breaks. Comment sections split between shock and anger. Some feel protective, others feel betrayed on her behalf. Because this isn't just an athlete talking about personal pain. This is someone realizing in real time that the people she defended may have never been on her side at all. What makes the moment hit harder is the realization setting in everywhere at once. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't miscommunication. This was a pattern. Clarissa pauses again, fighting back tears. And in that pause, everything becomes clear. She isn't crying because she's weak. She's crying because she believed. Because she stood 10 toes down for people who, in the end, let her stand alone. By the time the video ends, one truth settles heavy over everyone watching. They didn't just disappoint her, they played her. But before the tears, before the exposure, before the internet picked sides, there was admiration. Real admiration, built quietly over time. Clarissa Shields wasn't respected just for titles. She was respected for discipline, for loyalty, for never forcing relationships in an industry built on performance. She spoke openly about believing in community, in mentorship, in standing with people who showed her love early on. That belief shaped how she moved, who she trusted, and who she defended, sometimes louder than she should have. That's where she stood. Across from her in that same cultural space were people seen as symbols, not just individuals. Symbols of loyalty, of unity, of consistency. A partnership people believed in because it looked solid, unshakable, real. Especially to women who saw strength reflected in one journey and steadiness in the other. When Clarissa entered that orbit, it didn't feel transactional. It felt mutual. Photos, public support, shared spaces. Nothing flashy, nothing forced, just alignment that suggested respect behind the scenes. Clarissa spoke highly of them, defended them when criticism surfaced. No hesitation. That mattered. In hip-hop culture, public loyalty is currency, and she spent hers freely. But relationships built in the spotlight often hide their weakest points in the shadows. Behind the scenes, expectations formed quietly. Promises were implied, sometimes spoken, sometimes assumed. Clarissa believed she was protected, not just publicly supported, but privately considered. That belief shaped her choices. How much access she gave, how much trust she extended, how much benefit of the doubt she allowed. What she didn't realize was how uneven the exchange had become. Because while she was showing up consistently, something else was happening. Subtle shifts, delayed responses, changed energy, nothing loud enough to confront, nothing obvious enough to accuse, just enough to feel off. And when you respect people, you ignore that feeling longer than you should. That's the dangerous part. The foundation looked solid. The image stayed clean. The silence kept everything stable. And for a while, it worked. Until it didn't. Until Clarissa realized loyalty offered isn't always loyalty returned, especially when power dynamics quietly shift. That realization didn't come overnight. It built slowly. At first, nothing felt wrong. There were still public smiles, still moments of acknowledgement, still surface-level signs of unity that keep relationships looking intact from the outside. But beneath that surface, Clarissa felt the shift. Not all at once, just enough to notice. Messages took longer to get answered. Plans felt less certain. Conversations that once flowed easily began ending early, like something important was being avoided. She didn't confront it, not immediately. Because when respect is real, you assume the best. You tell yourself people are busy, timing is off, you're reading too much into things. In hip-hop culture, everyone moves fast. Misunderstandings happen. Clarissa chose patience over suspicion. But patience has limits. Moments began stacking up. Invitations that never came. Opportunities she expected to be looped into quietly handled without her. Public praise that felt vague instead of specific. And the strangest part, watching support show up loudly for others while her presence faded into the background. That's when doubt crept in. Not anger, not jealousy, confusion. She replayed conversations in her head, trying to find where things shifted. Thought about loyalty she'd shown without hesitation. About times she'd spoken up when staying silent would have been easier. About how she defended people who weren't even in the room. That kind of loyalty usually comes back around. Except this time, it didn't. Then came the moment that made everything impossible to ignore. Not a confrontation, not an argument, exclusion. Something she expected to be part of moved forward without her knowledge. She found out the way fans often do, indirectly, through fragments online. That sting landed harder than any public insult ever could, because exclusion doesn't shout, it confirms. Clarissa didn't react publicly, not yet. She sat with it, tried to rationalize it, tried to reach out quietly, privately, the way adults do when they want resolution instead of spectacle. The response she got back wasn't cruel. It was worse. It was distant, polite, short, non-committal. That distance told her everything. As days passed, the pattern became clearer. Support that once felt genuine now felt conditional. Access that once felt mutual now felt controlled. And the more she noticed it, the harder it became to unsee. Celebrity drama often starts with loud moments. This one grew in silence, the most dangerous place for betrayal to take shape. By the time Clarissa fully understood what was happening, the emotional math was undeniable. She had been present when it mattered, loyal when it counted, and somewhere along the way, that loyalty stopped being reciprocated. The timeline didn't end with an explosion, it ended with realization. And once realization sets in, comfort is gone forever. The silence held for a while, longer than people expected, long enough for assumptions to form, long enough for the internet to move on to other noise. But silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. Sometimes it means everything is being processed at once, privately, painfully, without an audience. Clarissa didn't rush to speak. She sat with the weight, the disappointment, the realization that loyalty, when unbalanced, turns into a burden. She replayed moments that once felt genuine and now felt transactional. Support that once felt mutual now felt strategic. And slowly, something shifted inside her. Not anger, clarity. That clarity is what made the next moment land so hard. When she finally spoke, it wasn't wrapped in shade or theatrics. It came controlled, emotional, honest. Her voice didn't rise. It wavered. She talked about betrayal without dramatizing it, about being embraced publicly and dismissed privately, about being made to feel included until she wasn't. The words weren't sharp, but they cut anyway, and fans felt it immediately. This wasn't gossip, this was testimony. As the clip circulated, people noticed what she chose to reveal and what she didn't. No exaggeration, no wild accusations, just experiences. How access changed, how communication cooled, how decisions were made without her. Those details mattered because they didn't sound rehearsed, they sounded lived in. The exposure wasn't a single bombshell, it was a pattern coming into focus. Viewers connected dots retroactively. Old moments now looked different. Compliments that once felt warm now felt generic. Silence that once felt respectful now felt convenient. The internet didn't need receipts. Behavior lined up on its own. Once it did, the story reframed itself. This wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a quiet removal. The tension deepened not because anyone responded loudly, but because they didn't respond at all. No clarification, no denial, no attempt to smooth things over. That absence became its own statement. In a culture where narratives are defended aggressively, restraint reads differently. It reads like disengagement, like distance, like someone choosing not to reopen something they believe is already closed. But for Clarissa, it wasn't closed. It was unresolved, and unresolved things demand air. The comments reflected that. Support poured in from people who recognized the experience immediately. Being valued until you're no longer useful, being welcomed until the room fills up, being loyal until loyalty becomes inconvenient. The story stopped being just hers. It became familiar. By the end of it, the truth was clear. This wasn't about one moment. It was about being played slowly, quietly, convincingly. And once that truth is spoken, it can't be taken back. The twist didn't come from a new statement. It came from hindsight. As Clarissa's words settled, fans stopped focusing on emotion and started focusing on alignment. Timelines were rewatched. Old interviews felt different. Praise that once sounded supportive now felt vague. Silence now read as strategy. The internet didn't rush this part. It studied it. And in that study, something unsettling took shape. This wasn't chaos. It was choreography. Clarissa showed up loudly when it mattered, defended, amplified, stood firm when staying neutral would have been safer. That pattern was easy to trace. What became impossible to ignore was the absence on the other side, the missing moments, the gaps where support should have existed but didn't. The perspective flipped. The story was never about fallout, it was about access. And access, once granted, changes the power dynamic completely. Then came the realization that hit hardest. Clarissa wasn't pushed out. She was used up, welcomed when her presence added value, celebrated when her voice helped the narrative, quietly sidelined when she no longer fit the plan. That reframed everything. The delays, the distance, the polite replies that went nowhere. Suddenly, her tears didn't read as weakness. They read as clarity. The moment became bigger than personalities, bigger than egos, bigger than headlines. It became about how people are treated once their usefulness expires. In hip-hop culture, loyalty is praised publicly but negotiated privately. And that contradiction is where this story lives. Clarissa stopped being seen as emotional. She was seen as honest. Others weren't accused loudly, they were questioned quietly. And quiet questions linger longer than loud accusations. The exposure wasn't forced. It happened through contrast. One voice emotional but consistent, others composed but distant. That imbalance told the story better than any receipt ever could. This wasn't a misunderstanding that spiraled. It was a dynamic that finally got named. The aftermath didn't come with press runs or statements. It came in energy. Clarissa moved forward differently. Not softer, not harder, clearer. She spoke less, explained less, chose intention over access. The tears didn't turn into walkbacks, they turned into distance. And distance is a decision. Support gathered around her quietly. Messages, shared experiences, recognition. The kind of support that doesn't trend but lasts. Fans stopped picking sides and started recognizing patterns. On the other side, silence remained. No attempts to reset the narrative. No effort to reclaim control. And that silence shaped perception more than any denial ever could. People didn't rush to condemn. They remembered. They remembered who spoke when it mattered and who didn't. In culture, memory is reputation. And reputation moves slower than headlines. The impact showed up subtly. Conversations changed. Loyalty became something people questioned instead of assuming. Unity was examined, not celebrated automatically. Clarissa's moment became a reference point, not a scandal, a lesson. Trust isn't proven in public moments alone. It's proven when cameras aren't rolling and benefits aren't immediate. So now the question isn't who's right or wrong. It's what loyalty really means. Is it showing up when it's convenient, or standing firm when it stops benefiting you? Is it public praise or private consistency? Clarissa's story landed because it didn't come wrapped in theatrics. It came wrapped in recognition. Too many people watching have lived some version of this. Trusted deeply, showed up fully, realized too late the exchange was never equal. That realization doesn't make you bitter, it makes you selective. And that's the real takeaway. When someone finally speaks from clarity instead of anger, do we listen? Or do we wait for chaos to entertain us? Some exposures don't need explosions. They just need honesty. So, ask yourself this. If you were in her position, would you have stayed silent to keep the peace? Or spoken once to protect your truth? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this story made you rethink how loyalty works in public spaces, hit like and subscribe. Because stories like this don't end with viral clips. They continue in how people move afterward, who they trust, and who they finally let go. Some betrayals don't need arguments. They just need clarity.